How are you, Barb?
Good, busy, kind of overwhelmed, but it's okay. Keep
Y-
swimming.
Well, you know what? I try to keep my nostrils above the waves every day. And just if it's any consolation, I mean, when I talk with people and they ask, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm always overwhelmed. But everybody I talk with is overwhelmed. And, I don't stop and say, well, what is it? Why is it? Or whatever. But it's, uh, it's a fact. Everybody is overwhelmed and it's not a good feeling. All right, I've got, let's see. Do you have a clock, Dave? All right. How are you, Barb? You need a couple more minutes?
Nope, I'm ready.
All right, let's count us
Sorry,
in.
I was running behind for being early.
No, no, it's all good. It's all good. We are here now, and we adjourned. No, we commenced this meeting. It looks like we have a quorum, and we'll do it in three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority. That is Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot. And Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have got to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search for Barb. You'll find her on all the podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. So, Barb, what's in store for today's show?
Well, Richard, I had some fun researching this show because I wanted to find out really what people want to hear about because um, there's a lot of different topics you can talk about in real estate. And I can tell you every single day with me has something new, something different, sometimes some stuff dramatic. Like last weekend, we held an open house. We had, I think, over 40 people show up in just 1 hour. So that told me, okay, we hit the mark on pricing. We had a really, really good turnout. But during the course of that open house, I think what happened is this agent sent her buyer to go look at the home, but she couldn't be bothered to go see it, right, with her buyer. So then she's texting me going, well, is your seller going to pay me 3% commission if I bring you an offer? And I'm like, it depends on the offer. You got to put it in the offer and negotiate your price. Man, I said, we've got 49 people at this open house. And she's like, well, you should have something in your agreement about how much the seller's willing to pay the buyer's agent. I said, well, regarding commission, my agreements are private. Well, if you feel that's that way, I'm just going to tell the buyer that you're not going to pay my 3% commission. So we're not going to bring you an offer. I'm like, wow. So what that told me is this agent was putting her 3% that she thought she was entitled to ahead of her buyer who wanted the house. And to me, it's so short sighted. It's so ignorant. I don't think people think about, agents don't think about the long term positive effect of doing a good job for your clients, not get in the way of what they want, and making sure that they love the process so much that they actually come back and refer you to other clients, or maybe come back and maybe their son or their brother or somebody wants to buy a house. They don't think about that. It's all about the money for some people. And I got so annoyed at this text battle with this gal. I just said, I don't want her on my phone anymore. Block. I don't know if I can really do that. All the offers come in on email, so I'm going to see them anyway. But I don't have to take her grief about her commission problem. So that's just a little piece of the daily drama I have to deal with all the time. So, what we're going to talk about on the first segment is, first of all, basically a way to buy your next home before you sell your current home. And we had somebody at that open house that had that exact dilemma, and we were able to solve the problem for them. So, don't miss on this segment because it's really, really a really cool tool that you can use. It's not very expensive. The next topic I'm going to talk about is the reason your house didn't sell and what you should do about it. It's really not what you think. A lot of people will say, well, it's the market, or it's the government shutdown, or it's that the rates went up. No, probably not. It could be a couple of different things. I was looking at one last week where somebody called me where their house is not selling. And their issue was they had a kind of odd little room in the floor plan, but they were showing it vacant. So the few showings that they got, the buyers got there and they were confused. So there's a solution to that. And if you're not listening to the feedback, if you're not hearing what the buyers are saying, if you're not getting good showing volume, that means that you missed on price and potentially on staging. So we can help you through those problems. And then the next topic is going to be how to get the highest price of your Colorado home without guessing or overpricing. So it's common that most sellers that I meet with really price is number one or at the tops of their list of their objective when they sell their home. And a lot of people assume that, hey, let's build in some negotiating room because we know some buyers are going to be asking for the seller to pay my loan closing cost. And that is fairly customary right now. However, that may not really be true. It depends on how much demand there is for the home, how many buyers want the home, whether or not it's priced right. And we can help you do that. So we'll talk about pricing in that segment. And then the last segment we're going to hit on is the biggest mistake that move up buyers make and how to avoid them. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with more homes on the market and the concern of homes sitting on the market for many months, how does a home seller who wants to buy another home make that move in a low stress way by being able to buy their next home and avoid missing out on the perfect home and sell their current home stress free? Can that be done?
Well, absolutely, it can be done. And the traditional way of getting that done is, oh, well, I'll sell my home first, but what if I'm rendered homeless? That's one of the biggest fears of home sellers. Or I've seen people actually move into an apartment and just kind of wait out until their house, excuse me, wait out until their house is ready, especially if they were buying a brand new home. Some builders actually lay out the rules and they say, okay, we'll accept your sale contingency, but if your home isn't under contract or sold by this date, we're going to cancel your contract and pivot to another buyer that wants this brand new home. So most buyers don't want to be in that situation, but unfortunately, it happens all the time. Well, we have a great solution for that that allows you to buy your next home first and buy it with cash and not even worry about a sale contingency. Because the traditional way, what most agents teach is, oh, well, if you make an offer contingent on your home selling, then maybe the seller will reserve the house just for you. But that doesn't help the seller at all. It tells the rest of the buying population that you've accepted a contract, and it creates all kinds of demand destruction from the other buyers. Yet this contingent buyer can't buy yet. They're not really a buyer because their house is either not sold or not yet on the market. And I just got an offer like that last week. Oh, will you reserve your house for me and wait for me to sell my home? By the way, my home is on the market for $1 million. So don't worry, it won't take long. So, and it may not take long if it's priced right, but at the end of the day, they're asking the seller to reserve the house. And the MLS rules really don't make things better. The rules in the MLS basically say, well, Mr. Seller, if you accepted a contract contingent on another home selling, you have to change the status to RGT, which means right of refusal, which means that the buyer that has a contingent sale basically has the first opportunity to get the house if another offer comes along. So you go back to buyer number one, you go, okay, buyer number one, you got 3 days to remove your sale contingency. If you can't do that, you're out, and I'm going to pivot to buyer number two. Well, buyer number two doesn't like that. They don't like waiting 3 days. And so the MLS rules are you have to disclose that by changing the the status in the MLS. However, what happens when that status gets changed, it translates onto all the tech company websites as if you've already accepted a contract. It's legit and it's going through, but it's really not legit yet. And so all the other agents stop showing, all the other buyers don't want to look at it anymore because they think it's not available. And so I don't know who came up with that idea, but it's the dumbest thing ever. So how does a home seller actually make an offer contingent on their home selling? Well, you can do that, and you're in a better position to do that if your home is already under contract. And the reason is that once a seller accepts a contract in the state of Colorado, you're committed. You can't bail out. You could maybe bail out if the buyer asks for repairs and you don't reach agreement on it, or the house doesn't appraise and you're unwilling to lower your price. But at each one of those opportunities, the buyer could still stay in the game. So really, the seller is committed until the end of the process. And during all that time, the buyer could bail out for any reason. They could bail out if they don't like their loan. They could bail out if they don't like the title work. And some of those things could happen at the very end of the transaction. So a contingent on my home selling that's under contract that we hope will go through is not really certainty for the home seller that you're making an offer on. And there are times when those contingencies will fall through. And the way the contracts are structured, it basically allows the buyer to bail out, no harm, no foul, if the buyer for their home does not close on the closing day. So it's a get out of jail free card for that buyer that has the contingent contract if their deal falls out. And it's not a good situation. Most sellers don't like being in that situation. And when I sit down and ask them how they feel about it, they just say, no, thank you. Move on, get the next buyer. So it's really a maybe buyer. And the other problem is, even if their home is under contract, the seller has to worry about not just their buyer sticking with the deal, but the buyer's buyer. So it's like a three-way deal. I've even seen a four-way deal take place, and it's not a good situation. So most people think they only have two options: sell first, move twice, which is very painful, or buy first and risk getting stuck with two homes and paying for two homes. But we actually have a really good alternative solution, and we'd love to tell you about it. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host to this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how do you buy your next home without selling your current home. And we're going to talk about that new stress-free way to make that move. Richard?
We're talking with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can always reach Barb at this number, 719-301-3900. So, Barb, how do home sellers buy their next home before selling the current home without breaking the bank?
Well, Richard, the traditional way is you put your house on the market, you get a contract, you hope it closes, and then you make an offer on your next home and hope they're willing to accept a sale contingency. The only downside of that is they may not accept it. And the other problem is that you have to worry about, if it doesn't go through, what is your backup plan? So it could be that you might have to close on your first home, live in temporary housing, and move to the next home. So we have some great programs. One of them is our Buy Before You Sell program, where basically we have an investor come in and pay cash. You negotiate the deal, pay cash for your next home, and then you take your time selling your current home, and you don't have to start paying on your next home for 2 months. It's a really great way to get things going. The criteria is pretty simple. You have to have 30% equity in your current home and have to have a credit score above 640. Most people are pretty good at that if they're transitioning from home to home. And if you'd like to find out more, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. That's the name of the program. Barb is the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can always reach her at 719 301 3900. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the real reason your house didn't sell, and it's not what you think. Stay tuned for that.
All right.
There's one down.
My phone is blowing up.
How come? I mean, anything in particular, or just business is good?
We put a crack house on the market.
Oh, jeez.
That's basically it.
Well, that's pretty dang good, right?
You can't even go inside. It's condemned.
Oh, God.
And they priced it low and everybody's calling. How much are your offers? I'm like, don't ask me. I'm not going to tell you. Make your best offer. Deadline's 12 today. Bye.
You know, I do think it's crazy that these people, are they just naive, or do they think you're so stupid that you're just going to cough up that information?
I think some agents do.
Yeah.
And that's how they learn that behavior. Or they think, no problem asking. I actually put it in the description of this house. I said, don't ask us how many offers, and don't ask them how much they are. We're not going to answer that question. In fact, don't call us. Follow the instructions, put your offer in. So,
you know, I guess there's a part of me, even when I was a trial, I'm sorry, when I was a trial attorney, people would make these stupid demands or requests or whatever. And I mean, they were just so unrealistic and stupid. And I would call them on that. I would just say, honestly, do you think I would even entertain a thought like that? And their answer was always, well, it never hurts to ask. I mean,
right.
You ask, and maybe somebody is dumb enough to go ahead and do that. I'm like, okay, well, I guess there's some truth to that, honestly. But
I can only assume there's somebody out there that will do it.
Yes, right. Okay. I've got us good to go here. I'm ready for two. How about you, Barb?
Ready.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, with the host of the program, that is Barb Schlinker, the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, as the selling season starts to heat up, I would think that there's still quite a few home sellers who have homes that did not sell so far. What are the reasons that they're not selling? And more importantly, what can they do about it?
Well, Richard, the last time I looked at the stats, the average days on market was still over 100 days, right? And so just to put that in perspective, of the homes that are selling, which not all homes are selling, the average days from the time they go on the market to get a contract is more than 100 days. So what about the homes that are not selling? They're still sitting on the market. And what's the problem? It's either preparation, pricing, promotion, or they pick the wrong agent, or it could be all of those things. And so you have to, as a home seller, be realistic. I'm not saying wait 104 days. If you got all 4 of those P's correct, pricing, preparation, picking the right agent, and getting the promotion right, it doesn't take 104 days. It takes 5, it takes 15, it might take 30, worst case. Okay. So it really doesn't take that long on the quote hot or highly desirable properties. But not every home is presented remodeled. I just mentioned a severe fixer-upper that we put on the market that the phone is just exploding over because it's priced right. So there's a price for everything, and there's a strategy for everything. Some home sellers decide to choose to sell their home as is. They're not going to fix anything. I'm working with one right now where he really didn't want to remodel. He offered it as is, but of course the buyer does their inspection and they want this and this and that and fries with that too. Let me say that again. They want this and this and that and fries with it too. In other words, they wanted almost like a brand new house. So I reminded the agent that we have a backup offer. Don't expect half of this stuff. And the seller response was, no, I was pricing this to sell it as is. I'm not willing to put in a new sewer line and a new roof and a new electrical panel and all this junk. I'm not doing that. And so he responded appropriately, took care of a few things, and the buyer said, that's fine, I'll take it. So you never know, right? You never know really what the buyer is thinking, but the agents won't hesitate to ask for absolutely everything. So pending sales are actually up slightly, but I'm not sure they're up as compared to a year ago. We have a little bit more inventory than last year, and then we have 3% less pending sales. Now, there's a couple of factors at play. The interest rates bumped up about a half a point in the last week. There's a lot of things going on. Maybe the government shutdown affects some people in this area. All those things have an impact, but the inventory's up by 15%. So that means buyers have more choices, right? So maybe it's going to take longer to sell. Right now, we're at 104 days, average days on the market. Last year, it was 94. So what is that telling me? We've got more homes on the market. It's taking longer to sell. And the pending sales are down a little bit. That means if you're a home seller, you got to price what I call very realistically versus optimistically. Even the interest rates are not helping us right now. They bumped up to over 6.5 conventional and right around 6 for the government loans. And new home sales have plunged to a 3-year low. So that tells me if you need to sell right now, it's okay, but don't expect prices that were being commanded back in 2021 and 2022. It's absolutely critical that you present the home as the best looking home on the market, the best priced home on the market, the best presented home on the market, and the best promoted home on the market. All those things are absolutely critical, or they just won't show up. Pricing absolutely is the most important factor. Now, there are in the Pikes Peak region, there are 6,300 agents. Denver, I think it has somewhere around 30,000, statewide 55,000. We will get agents from all over the state showing our listings. It doesn't necessarily limit to the Springs area, but according to Zillow, 72% of all agents sold 0 homes last year. 0. It's pathetic. And the reason for that basically is the industry really doesn't teach them how to get business. It's the biggest challenge for them. They really don't market like what I'm doing right now. They don't they don't study the market. I know when I was early in my career, it took me a while before I started paying attention to what the market was actually doing. I relied on what other people said, and now I started doing my own research and going, that's different than I thought. And you'll have agents that say, oh, well, we are making this lowball offer and we're asking for $20,000 in seller concession. And oh, by the way, on top of that, I want 3% commission because it's a buyer's market. I'm like, well, maybe, but it really depends on how that home presents in the market at the current time. We're actually kind of between a seller's and a buyer's market. So pricing is critical. It's to me, it's an art. You have to take a look at what has sold and what's available and make a really good decision about how you want to compete in today's market against other similarly priced homes. And not every agent knows how to do it. I sold one recently where the home seller had picked somebody that really didn't specialize in real estate at all. They handled rentals as a primary business. And so what happened there is they overpriced the home. The photos were awful. This couple was overseas. They actually spent money to bring in staging furniture in their beautiful home, which cost about at least $2,000 a month to bring in staging furniture. And it still didn't sell because the photos were so bad. Photos are one of the key points of the promoting piece of that. Zillow has a phrase that they say, screen appeal is the new curb appeal, which is true. You can't get people to leave their fuzzy bunny slippers and even go drive by the house if they don't like what they see online. And the buyers are very well educated about what's going on in the market, especially for what they are looking for in their price range. If they can't find what they're looking for in their price range, they might go up in price if they can afford it. But they know the market, in my view, better than real estate agents. They know whether or not a home is overpriced. They look it up on Google and find out everything around it. They're very well educated. So you can't fool them by saying, I want this much because I put in a tankless water heater. It doesn't work like that. The market is the one that dictates how much the home is going to sell for. And you only have less than 1 minute to make an impression online or on their phone when they're looking at homes before they move on to the next house. That's why you really got to hire somebody that knows exactly what they're doing about promotion. And you don't want to let the buyer get away. There's a quote I got from somebody that handles thousands of sales every year, a big corporate seller, that, hey, don't let the buyer get away. You only got one shot. Make sure you're telling me, you eyes and boots on the ground, if it needs new carpet, if it's overpriced. They need to know all those things. And affordability absolutely is a problem right now in Colorado. The prices really haven't fallen off that much since the boom. The average median household income, I think in the Denver area, is over 113. Pikes Peak is about 93,000. So that means, that the kind of middle price range right now, the average price is about 530, and Denver's up higher. Douglas County, it's up in the upper eights right now, which is a lot of money. It's almost $1 million for a house. So it's absolutely important that you decide pricing the home right. It will always gravitate to market value. So if you underprice it and miss it, buyers will jump on it and make their best offer. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about the reasons why a house is not selling. And when we come back, we're going to when we come back, we're going to talk about some ways to make your home sell fast and for top dollar. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing why a house may not be selling. What are some things that home sellers should do to sell fast and, of course, for the most money?
Well, Richard, I think it starts with planning a strategy. Not everybody has the same strategy about how they want to approach their home for sale. I've got somebody that's getting ready to go on the market right now where their house is beautiful and they're still updating it. So everything is fresh and new. The paint, the carpet, the kitchens, I mean, it's spectacular and the landscaping's awesome. So that's more of a pretty house category. But I think because they made good decisions about pricing, it will probably go fairly quickly. Now, there are others that are just a wreck. We have one right now that's a VA repo that literally is condemned. I will say that it's condemned. It's way underpriced for its square footage, and we can't get the phone to stop ringing about it. So somebody wants to buy it. You can't even go in to see it because it's against the law to enter the house. But it's a strategy. So in between are the people that maybe don't want to remodel so much. They want to sell their home as is. And generally, I help the home sellers make the decision. We sit down, we take a look at what has sold that's like theirs. We also take a look at what hasn't sold, what's on the market right now, and what are the ones that are getting contracts, and really look hard at those pictures to decide where to position the home price wise. And it stands out at you pretty quickly. Most people get it, they pick the right number, and we go from there. And it is their decision. I'll ask them, how long do you want it to go on the market? We could wait 104 days or longer, and then you have to let the market decide where it's going to sell, or you could price it what I call very realistically and have it sell pretty quickly. We even have cash buyers, so where you don't go on the market at all. We have multiple cash buyers that will come in and make an offer full market value on your home and be able to buy your next home first. We've got lots of options for that. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We do a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. Some of the pricing strategy, I had one seller recently that wanted to sell fast. So he came in a little bit below current market value and it did sell fast. It sold in actually 10 days. And then I've got others that, well, they've got time. They're not in a hurry. We tried a higher price. It didn't work. And then over time, we finally got to a price where at the same time, we got multiple offers. But at the end of the day, probably the most critical thing is pricing. So the volume of showings is going to tell you immediately if you got that wrong. If you're getting not too many showings, maybe an offer here and there, you're still a little high. If you're getting lots of showings and offers, you're right on target. Just be patient. If you're getting almost no showings, you miss the mark by at least 5%. Hate to say that, but that's probably the number. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. We offer a free in-home consultation where we give you tips on how to get your house ready for sale. We help you match that strategy. We show up with cash offers on your home, so you have that as an option or even a backup option. And we'll give you an idea of what the full market will command for your home and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She should be your voice. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to get the highest price for your Colorado home without guessing or overpricing. Stay tuned for that. I didn't ask you to. I told you, stay tuned for that. All right. All right. David, you're good. Oh, wait, he's writing over here. He's good. Barb, how about you?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Well, count us down. In three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, I would think that most home sellers want the most money when they sell their homes, of course, but it's a guessing game to figure out what a buyer would pay for their home. Do homeowners get the highest price when selling their home? And how do they know that their home is going to be sold?
Well, I mean, I think most home sellers are worried about leaving money on the table if they underprice a home or getting caught being asked to pay for the cash deficits of the buyer. Like I was looking at a sale yesterday in front of a client in their price range, and it sold for higher, but the buyer negotiated for 18,000 loan closing costs to be paid for by the seller. That's a lot of money. It's like, really. And the double-edged sword is, what if the appraiser comes along and says, oh, well, it's not worth that much. Well, the seller's already committed to shelling out 18 grand for that buyer. And if they come back and walk the price back, there's not much they can do other than, lower the price and net less money. So it doesn't always work. You really have to calculate whether or not it's going to be successful in the end. But, most sellers, they don't want to leave money on the table and they want to get the most money. But a lot of them will say, well, I would like to have like a fair price for my house, right? They're not, most sellers are not looking at, just way overpricing. And it always hurts them when they do it in ways of what happens is the house could go on the market overpriced and it would sit on the market. We get very few showings just here and there. Nobody's really serious about buying it. And then at the end of the day, what happens is the seller ends up lowering the price and time goes on. The buyers kind of feel like the listing is stale. They're not very interested in it anymore. And, it ends up selling for less money than had they gone on the market at the right price in the first place. And, I've walked, shoulder to shoulder with sellers trying to get that higher price where it hasn't worked. And it's really frustrating. It's frustrating for me because of all the time and effort I'm trying to promote that price when I knew it probably wouldn't work. But at the end of the day, the market's going to tell you, and they're going to tell you fast. They're going to tell you probably within the first 30 days if you got that right. So you don't want to do it. And then the buyers always assume there's something wrong with the house. So if you don't get a lot of interest in the first probably 7 to 14 days, there's a problem. You should make a move. And then at the end of the day, what we see is that the buyers, if they're actively looking right now in the market, they kind of know what's going on in the market in their price range. They know what's new and what's not new. Some houses they're actually just keeping an eye on and hoping that you lower the price into their budget. That happens too. But at the end of the day, they're watching it. Some agents are watching it, but actually the demand is the highest when it's fresh and new on the market. And buyers are like, oh, look at that one. That's really nice. If it's priced right, they're going to come and go see it. And I don't recommend that you go out there and price for what I call negotiating room. That's a big mistake because it will prevent some buyers from even coming to see it. They'll say, oh, well, they want too much. I'm not even going to go look at that home. I can always tell within a day or two when I put a home on the market, whether or not it's going to go fairly quickly. I'll start getting a lot of requests for showings. I'll get agent calls. I'll get buyer calls. That tells me, okay, we got it right there. But if it's really quiet, if we're kind of ghosting and they're just poking around on the internet looking at it, chances are we didn't hit the right price. And so you really don't want to lose that momentum that you have when you introduce the home to the market. And the reason why it doesn't work is because the buyers really know if it's priced right or not, and they just won't come and see it if it doesn't fit their budget. So one of the good strategies is to create competition. In other words, price it intentionally below similar sales. We just put a house under contract yesterday with that strategy. We knew that it needed some work, but not horrible, just not updated. Like the kitchen counters weren't granite and it didn't have fancy appliances and stuff like that. But it was a good buy for the size home, good location, and good price. And so we had a huge crowd, 49 people at the 1 hour open house, and ended up getting it under contract within a few days. So that there would have been one or two other offers, but it fell off. So maybe not quite low enough, but just kind of in that sweet spot where we can make it work. Another way to do it is what I call slightly below. It doesn't take very much in this market to create demand with proper pricing. A lot of people think, oh, well, she put that house on the market way below what it's worth, and that's how come she's selling homes. No, no, it's not that. I want to get the most money for the seller too, but my experience has been the way you get the most money is if you price very realistically. And then the buyers are coming in high. They'll come in over asking price sometimes. I had one last year where I ended up getting 3 offers, 50,000 over asking price, right? That's creating proper demand. And that way the seller could make his decision about which one was the best offer for him. That's really fun. The other thing is about first impression. So most buyers don't want to buy a home that needs work unless they're investors. Like we have the condemned home on the market this week. And yeah, those are investors. They're looking to, bang nails and make it look pretty and turn around and resell it and make a profit. A totally different category of purchase. I'm talking about the type of homes that a buyer would want to live in. Sometimes you can price it at such a point where the buyer could move in and actually do their own work on the home, but that is not full retail. It has to be a little bit below current market values. And we do that all the time. But at the end of the day, it's important that the home is clean, that they can move in it. And I sell homes that are taken back in foreclosure by the VA on a regular basis. Many of those homes are not move-in ready. Many of them, the plumbing is broken or the drywall is broken. And so nowadays, with the prices being higher, the buyers are more than willing to buy a home like that if it's priced well enough, because they can actually finance the remodel into their loan and get a really good deal on the home and be able to pick the improvements that they want. But at the end of the day, the full marketing strategy includes high quality photos. I can't believe there's still agents out there using their smartphones to take pictures of homes. And you can really tell by the narrow photos. You ever seen them online, Richard? The little narrow, dark photos of homes?
This is one of the biggest transactions you're going to make in your life. And it's going to be amateur hour when it comes to presenting what it looks like. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about how much of a commission is, 3% of the average price of 530 or something like that, just pick a simple number, it's $15,000. Real estate agents, really? You can't spend $200 to $500 on professional photos to make 15,000? I don't understand it, but they do it all the time, and I don't really get why. And we do professional photos even in our fixer upper homes because we know how critical that is. So some of the big mistakes that home sellers make in general are that maybe they price it too high just to test the market, but you're going to kill that momentum when you do it. That's the problem with it. Or occasionally they'll over improve the home to a point like, let's say all the homes around it don't necessarily have quartz counters and Corinthian leather, right? You don't have to go that far. It just has to be move-in ready, especially with flooring. Most of the agents just kind of put homes in the MLS and hope somebody will bring a buyer, and they just ignore the whole process. So most of the people are paying attention to the homes that newly hit the market. So that's why that first 2 weeks to 30 days are absolutely critical when you go on the market. So if you'd like to book an appointment with us, you can give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com and get on my calendar, and we'll do a free pricing strategy on your home. It's a really good exercise. Whether you use this or not, it doesn't matter. We love an opportunity to help you make that transition. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how to get the highest price on your Colorado home without guessing or without overpricing. And next up, we'll talk about pricing strategy that wins every time. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach her at 719-301-3900. We're talking, Barb, about how sellers can trade up to a new home What are some other things that a seller can do if they need to sell a house before they buy their next home?
Well, if you're in that situation, it is a dilemma because you want to get the highest price, but then again, you need your equity out to buy your next home. So we've got a whole bunch of options where you can actually buy your next home and move at your pace. And we're going to actually talk about some of those in the next segment. But at the end of the day, a lot of people fear that their house is gonna, I've had people tell me that I'm afraid you're gonna sell my house too fast, so I'm gonna wait. And that's okay, no problem. And a lot of people, until they're really confident that they have that destination in their mind, they don't do anything. So it's all about the 4 Ps: preparation, picking the right agent, pricing it right, and presenting it on the market properly. But you want to make sure that you get the highest price. We even have cash offers where you can have the cash offer as your backup plan. And I've had home sellers use the cash offer as their backup plan when the traditional high priced attempt did not work. But really, the best way to do it is to price it what I call very realistically versus optimistically. In other words, slightly below what similar sales are indicating and very competitive against current competition. And I would look very hard at the ones that are getting contracts right now, because those are the ones that are moving for one reason or another. And if you want to discuss all the options about pricing and how you make it happen, I've helped people do this multiple dozens of times every single year, and it's very fun for me if they decide to price it right, because I know it's going to work. I just know it when they pick the right number. But it's not my decision; it's the seller's decision in every case, not only about how to price the home, but also in what offer to accept. So if you'd like to find out how that works, you can give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, you and your team are the only company I ever recommend to people who are out there thinking of selling their homes, downsizing to a smaller home. They can always call you at 719-301-3900. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the biggest mistakes that people are. Oops. Okay. Um, we'll, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the biggest mistake move up buyers make and how to avoid them. Plus, we'll have Barb's hot new listings. Don't miss that. There we go. All right, I'm going to run real quickly. I have got, oh, yeah. All right, I'll be right back. Ouch. All right, here we go. Segment 4. I'm good. Barb, how about you?
I'm ready.
I figured you were. Count us down in three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many people think that when they put their home on the market, it's definitely going to sell and at their price. Often they believe they have their home on the market. It assures them that they can get a contract on their next home. But what are some of the mistakes that move up buyers are making?
Well, I think, Richard, a lot of times they assume everything's going to go great and it's going to sell right away and they don't have to worry about it. But at the end of the day, the market's a little bit softer than it was last year. The prices are they're kind of the same, but they're not homes are not moving as fast, right? So I think the first mistake that they do is maybe they sell too early. They get a little overzealous and go, okay, I'm going to sell the home right now and then pick my next home, which actually, if they're going to move twice, it's okay if they're okay with doing that. Some people might already have their next destination already lined up. And because they know once they sell the home, they're going to have to move, right? Now, there's been a few of our clients that have actually negotiated where they could stay in the home for a month or even two after they close on their house. And that's a really warm, fuzzy place to be in, but there's no guarantee the buyer will sign off on that. You have to really position the home to be priced very aggressively to make that happen. So if you sell first and then buy, the problem is you got to wait until you sell to buy your next home or to pick your next home. I've got a couple sellers right now that are waiting to see if their destination that they want appears on the market. In other words, they don't have a destination. They know generally where they want to be, but they have not picked their next home yet. And therefore, they're going to wait until that happens. And then they've got a dilemma. Now they got to hurry, get their house on the market, and make that transition very quickly. So it does create a problem in both cases. And I've seen the people that basically are in the wonderful financial position where they've already bought their next home and they can take their time selling their existing home. That's really a good place to be because you can kind of relax with the process and you could test the market a little bit more slowly. But if they need the cash out to buy their next home, there's a problem. I had a home seller last year, really nice couple. They had a paid for house, lovely home, and he had just retired, so his income hadn't kicked in yet. They went and contracted for their new home before they put their house on the market. Oops, they don't quite qualify for the new home yet without making sure their current home was sold. So we were able to deploy one of the buy before you sell programs, where he was able to get the equity out of his current home without making a payment on it, buy his next home, and then sell his existing home later. And that worked really well. The only critique he had was, Barb, you sold my house too fast. I didn't think it was going to take just a week. I thought it would take months. But I'm like, okay, sorry. Most people don't mind that too much. So there's a lot that goes into timing and strategy. And I would say definitely have a destination or a plan lined up. I've seen some people that get really nice recreational vehicles and they just say, I'm just going to put my stuff in storage. I see some people that go buy their next home first and remodel it, then sell their current homes. There's all kinds of options out there. And there's lenders that will actually help you make that transition even without a bridge loan. I was talking to a seller a couple of weeks ago about there's another program called Recast. Now, the lenders don't really want to tell you much about it because they don't make a lot of money doing this, but some of the big lenders will offer it. And the way that works is you buy your next home first, and you're going to have maybe pull equity out or something to make that happen. Okay. Then when your current home sells, you take that equity from your current home and put it down on your new mortgage, and they just readjust the payment as if you had that money in the first place. It's a really cool way, and it's called recast. And actually, the cost is only a few $100s, but you really have to ask the lenders to do it. You know, they don't love doing that. They'd much rather refinance that existing loan because they make more money. But at the end of the day, it's a very slick way to make it happen. I've seen people do that, and it's been really cool. The other problem that you have is if you want to make an offer on a property contingent on your home selling, even if it's under contract, you're not necessarily in as strong of a negotiating position as you would have been had the house already be sold or you didn't have a house to sell. So let me put it in another perspective. Let's say the seller gets two offers. Buyer number one has a house to sell that's under contract, and buyer number two does not have a house to sell. They just want to buy that home. Richard, which offer do you think the seller would take, assuming their prices are pretty much the same?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to go with the one that has the least hassle and is
Yeah.
most likely to work out.
Yeah, and that's what most sellers are looking at. They don't want to wait around for any uncertainty, especially if they have to wait for not just their buyer to get their loan and close, but the buyer's buyer. That really is a scenario that makes people pretty nervous. And then the other part of that, making a contingent offer, is that I've seen people make offers contingent on their home selling. And on top of that, they're not even a full price offer. So I feel like telling the agent, okay, let me get this straight. You want to make an offer on my listing. You want my seller to reserve the home for them, but your home isn't sold yet, right? And you didn't even come in at full price. So it takes away your negotiating room if you have that ball and chain of a house to sell. So I don't recommend you doing that. There's different ways to do it to actually make it happen. And the way you reduce your stress and increase certainty is actually to use some of these programs that we have where you don't have to worry about timing the market exactly right. You can actually negotiate a really good deal on your next home. You could come in as if you had cash to pay for that home and really be able to negotiate your terms and then take your time selling. So if you'd like to find out more about that, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. And you just have to kind of, when you make offers, you have to think about, if I'm the home seller, you know, how would I perceive that offer? If you make an offer contingent on your home selling and it's not on the market, to me, they're not a buyer. They're not a player. And even if it is on the market, now me as the listing agent, I'm going to take a look at that listing to see if it's priced right. Is it priced right? Is it overpriced? Is it going to not sell while we're still young? You know, all those things are going through my mind to give the seller advice. Should you tie up your home waiting for a very large maybe, or just wait for the next buyer? So all those things you have to consider when you're making that transition. And then financing, there's a lot of options out there. I love the buy before you sell programs because they're relatively inexpensive and quick. And that way you don't miss out on the perfect home. But there are bridge loans. There's a myriad of ways to make that transition and make it relatively painless. So I would not just gamble on the seller accepting your weak contingent offer. And I just last weekend I had a buyer call me and they wanted to see one of my listings. And I always vet the buyers before I go out and show homes. I want to know a couple of things. Are they working with an agent? Do they already have their financing lined up, or are they paying cash? And they just kind of laugh and go, haha, no, not yet, but you know, we just want to see the house. So that's what buyers love. They love looking at houses. And then if they like the house, then they go and find out about financing. Well, to me, that's doing it backwards. Why are you looking at a home that you may not even be able to buy? So I connected that buyer with a lender and, of course, didn't hear anything back, which tells me they probably couldn't buy it. So why am I opening a door for somebody that can't do it? There are agents that will do it. I'm not one of those. Anyway, my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about the biggest mistakes that home sellers make when they move up or down to their next home. And we're going to talk about a few ideas on how you can avoid those mistakes. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach her at 719 301 3900. We're talking, Barb, about mistakes that home sellers make when they move up to their next home. So, Barb, what are some of the other things that a seller can do to avoid those mistakes?
Well, first of all, I think as a buyer, you are a move up buyer. So you're a buyer and a seller. Make sure you have your financing house ready to go. Find out what all those options are and just have option A, B, and C to make that transition. Because if you don't do that and you just put your house on the market and hope it works out, and then you've got these problems to solve down the road, that's really moving is stressful all by itself, but adding in those other mysteries make it worse. So and plus you're not as good of an you don't have as good of a negotiating strategy if you've got the ball and chain of the house to sell. So you don't want to be surprised. You want to be prepared. That's the people that actually win and get the best deal and they get the house that they love. That's how it works. And give yourself plenty of time to plan ahead. Um, Now there are some people that will reach out and say, okay, we're ready now, go, which is fine. Okay, we can deal with that. But generally people would like to know, where are we going? What do we have to do to get ready for sale? What's important? What's not important? Doing this transition of selling a home and buying a home is really a very complicated transaction. And you want the advice of a good, experienced agent that has options for you. And we can help you with that. Give us a call, 719 301 3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, you've got some hot new listings for us, lightning round. Tell us about them.
I do. And just so you know, I have some wonderful homes on the market. One of them is a beautiful ranch on 80 acres with a gorgeous custom ranch style home out on Judge Orr Road. And it also has an auxiliary dwelling unit, two beautiful barns for your four-legged family members, and lots of views and even solar. So that's an option. We also have a fantastic home down in Monte Vista, Colorado, priced in the mid 200s. A couple of VA repos that are, some are really red hot. This one on Brentwood's probably going to be gone by the time this show airs. A fantastic townhome in the southwest part of town on 420 Autumn Heights, priced at 274.9. A beautiful ranch style patio home with a basement that we're featuring open today at 4268 Quartzsite Place, 474,999. We also have an amazing home down in Pueblo, 2-story, 4-bedroom with a loft, priced at $379. A spectacular home on Mineral Belt Drive, priced at $700 with a 3-car garage. Beautiful home on 5 acres on Warriors Pass in the low sixes. Stunning home that's been completely redone on Vincent Drive, the mid nines, and then the Judge Orr property. Also, we have a beautiful home up in Florissant on 35 acres with a huge, massive detached building that also has its own apartment, priced at 2.15 million, an amazing lot on Hidden Valley in Lake George. To find out about all of our properties, go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on featured properties, or call us at 719 301 3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb. The number is 719 301 3900 or barbhasthebuyers.com. That'll do it for this week. Hey, Barb, you be safe. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
There you go.